What's up, everybody? Welcome back to News Dose, and after 2 years of waiting, the rumors, the speculation, just absolutely everything, it's finally Switch 2 week. The Direct is nice, so stay tuned because we're going to cover all of the Switch 2 news as it comes in this week. Very, very exciting stuff. But for today, the Switch 2 isn't the only handheld maker making waves online. There's also been a lot of conversation about an Xbox handheld possibly this year, and yeah, we might actually have some news for that after all. Now, we're also going to talk about PlayStation because they're getting a little bit ridiculous by this point. So just stay tuned. But first, I do want to thank my supporters on Patreon and on YouTube memberships. Thank you just so much for what you do, and you will receive this video through early access. Let's just go and get right into things, though, starting off with Death Stranding. Its sequel will be out here in just a few months. I actually think it looks really promising so far, or at least for the fans of the first game. However, the original Death Stranding was definitely polarizing during its initial release. It wasn't exactly beloved by everybody because it wasn't what everybody expected it to be. To a lot of people, it was a walking simulator. Now, a lot of people loved it for what it was. It's definitely a very unique experience, and while others just thought it was incredibly slow and boring. I mean, each to their own. Everybody can have their own opinion. But there is a reason that a sequel rapidly went into production, and that's because despite its polarizing reception, it also proved to be a big-time seller. Back in 2022, it surpassed 10 million units sold worldwide. That is absolutely incredible. And now today, it reached another new milestone of 20 million players. Now, do keep in mind that that's not necessarily sold. It was a part of Game Pass, but even still, 20 million players is pretty astounding. I mean, there's very few games that are capable of doing something like that. And, this is just another example of the weight that the Kojima brand name carries. I mean, he left Konami after working on the Metal Gear series for decades. A lot of people believe those are all-time greats. I sit in that boat as well. And he immediately churned into this big-time success under his newly found studio. So just big congrats to him and his entire team. Oh, and we got a release date for what could be the sleeper hit of the year, Mind's Eye. Now, this is a game that was announced a few years back, and the reason a lot of people are excited about it is because it comes from Leslie Benzies, which if you don't know who he is, he's most known for his work over at Rockstar Games. Games like GTA and Red Dead Redemption. I mean, even in the trailers that they've shown for Mind's Eye, it does have a very GTA vibe to it, especially when it comes to the car sections. And the production values are also top-notch. My only qualm about how they're advertising, though, is that they keep emphasizing narrative reveals more than actual gameplay, and that's something that we're even seeing here in its brand new trailer. I mean, the story itself does sound interesting. It's got a very sci-fi setting combined with a military background, but I think we need to see more gameplay to really sell it to people. I mean, for as good as Leslie Benzies' resume is, this is still a brand new IP at the end of the day, coming from a completely new studio. So hopefully we'll start to see some more gameplay sometime soon because Mind's Eye is officially set for a June 10th release. So, it's really only a few short months away by this point. Now, over the past few years, there's been various rumors that a Final Fantasy IX remake is in development. I mean, we've heard this from a number of different insiders, but even more important is that it appeared in the NVIDIA leak back in 2021, which, has proven itself time and time again, no matter how much NVIDIA wants to deny it. Well, to add further fuel to the fire, a new 25th anniversary website just went live, and you can read it here. It says Final Fantasy IX, which was released on July 7th, 2000, will celebrate its 25th anniversary in 2025. We are preparing various projects, including merchandise and collaborations, to commemorate the 25th anniversary, so please look forward to it. So, by all indication here, not only could the long-rumored remake get its official announcement this year, but it could also release in 2025 as well. Now, I'm going to go and put my tinfoil hat on here for a moment because I view the timing of this to be rather interesting. Think about it this way. We have the Switch 2 Direct here in just a few days. Now, I'm not necessarily saying that Final Fantasy IX is going to be announced at that Direct, but what I am saying is that developers and publishers are going to be a lot more open about their products that are coming in 2025 because they want to announce them with that Switch 2 logo attached to their reveals. That's big marketing for these companies because they can say, hey, we're going to be there for the launch window of the Switch 2. In fact, Final Fantasy being a popular franchise over in Japan, and with just how dominant Nintendo is in Japan, Final Fantasy IX really seems to be a perfect fit for the console. I mean, I wouldn't be shocked at all if Nintendo became its best-selling platform. So with this newly found website, and just with the Switch 2 around the corner, I'm going to go and predict we're going to get that official Final Fantasy IX Remake announcement relatively soon. If not in the coming weeks, maybe around the summer when we start to get those different showcases. I mean, for that matter, we could actually get it on the 25th anniversary, which they highlighted being July 7th. So, who knows? Either which way, I'm incredibly excited because Final Fantasy IX truly is an all-time great JRPG and arguably the best Final Fantasy entry in the entire franchise. Now, I don't know if I necessarily agree with that. Final Fantasy VII is my personal favorite, but 9 is definitely up there near the top. Okay, so let's go and talk about Xbox and their looming handheld. Now, as a brief summary, just in case you've missed some of the past news, basically Xbox is working on their own handheld console. But it's still likely at least 2 years away, which will release alongside their new PC hybrid console. They'll likely both sport a new Xbox front end that will sit over top of Windows, which theoretically will give us access to anything that runs on PC, including storefronts like Steam. Now, that part's going to be very exciting if all of that turns out to be true. However, the reason that all of this is important to know, or at least for this topic, is because it sounds like they're currently working to make that Windows experience feel like a console experience. And their first step to do this is to launch a partner handheld device. This will give them an opportunity to introduce an early front end or an improved version of the Xbox app that will run over top of Windows. That way they can gather more information and improve it even more for their own first-party devices in the future. Now, we had previously heard their first partner handheld will be with Asus, the makers behind the ROG Ally devices. Well, that brings us to today's news because ROG seems to be teasing a new handheld. Now, at first glance, there doesn't seem to be all that much here. They simply said our little robot friend is cooking something up, and then there's this short teaser trailer. This doesn't give us all that much information, so no big deal, right? Well, not exactly, because where things get really interesting is that Xbox responded to this tweet with this image here. I mean, unless they're trolling, which I don't think is the case, then they're likely teasing that this is in fact the leaked Asus Xbox handheld that we all heard about last month. So not only does this rumor now have credible information to it, but on top of that, the reveal seems to be a lot sooner than expected. There's a real chance here that we will hear about this in the imminent future, and because this is coming from ROG, it does make me think that this will be another ROG Ally device, but maybe this time it'll be called the ROG Ally Xbox Edition or something like that. It'll then have the Xbox buttons with the logo that'll boot right into the Xbox app, which Microsoft has been working diligently on. I think that's with the future in mind because they want to turn that into a legitimate Xbox UI and an Xbox OS for their future consoles. But I think that's important to note here. Whatever they're going to announce in 2025, it's not going to be the end result for whatever they have planned for their next first-party consoles. This will be an early example of where they're heading next, if that makes any sense. It was previously described as a proof of concept device. So I don't think we should necessarily go into this with the expectation that this will be an outright Xbox console, because it's not going to play all of your Xbox console games or anything like that, but rather it will have an emphasis on Xbox with Xbox PC gaming. However, even with all that in mind, I think this could be a great addition to the PC gaming handheld market. And I, for one, am very curious about the insights that it could tell for their future strategy. Let me know what you all think about all of this, though. Are you excited about this Asus Xbox partnership? And at what price would you buy into their handheld? For now, we don't really have the price or anything like that, but I expect this to be no less than $500, if not more than that, just given that PC gaming handhelds tend to be anywhere between $500 and $800 most of the time. Now, one last thing before we go, I mentioned that Sony is being a little bit ridiculous at the top of the video, but I'm not really mad about this. I actually find this to be more amusing than anything else, because what's happening here is that Bilbo-kun, which, has more than a credible track record by this point, he leaked that Sony is going to soon announce something The Last of Us related. Yeah, I mean, just check out what he said here. According to our information, a new special edition of a game in the Last of Us franchise is in the works, with a physical release on PlayStation 5. However, we haven't been able to determine which game it will be. Will it be for the first installment, the second, a pack of both, or even a hypothetical part 3? Only time will tell. However, we can already tell you the price of this special edition. It will cost only €120 and 110 United States dollars. It will therefore be available in the European and North American regions. Everything seems to indicate that the officialization of this edition, as well as the opening of pre-orders, would take place very soon in a time window that we estimate to be within 2 months. So, I mean, reading that and just kind of knowing the HBO Season 2 is right around the corner, my guess here is that this will be a special bundle for the first 2 remastered games. When the first season released, there was an uptick in sales for the Part 1 remaster, and I think they're attempting to capitalize on that with a new special bundle for the 2 remasters. At the same time, though, it's really a very unnecessary and seemingly an expensive bundle, and I think it's just funny because of how many times they've re-released these games in a very short period of time. Like, I'll tell you this right now. I recently played through the Jak and Daxter games, and it honestly feels like those games came from a completely different studio. Not just the gameplay, but in how their stories are told. Naughty Dog is not what they used to be. I'll tell you that right now. And this Neil Druckmann era has just been The Last of Us on repeat. It's almost crazy how highly Sony puts these games on a pedestal. And I mean, like, I kind of understand that when it comes to the first game. There's a reason that it went on to sell like 25 plus million copies. But I can also say that there might be a reason that Part 2 never got an update after it sold 10 million. Its sales numbers seem to be very front-loaded, with the hype from the first game just kind of propelling it to that 10 million. But word of mouth, that can be a very strong thing, and it's definitely not a very beloved game compared to the first. And I don't think that's going to change no matter how many times they re-release it. I mean, it is what it is, but I will say, I definitely miss the old Naughty Dog, and I'll just kind of leave it at that. Anyways, though, that's going to be it for this episode, but until next time, make sure to subscribe, ring that bell, and peace out.